Welcome to the dRofus Learning Channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to use dRofus to manage doors. There are many challenges that come with managing doors related to the geometry, to tracking the changes, to the complexity of a door system. We're going to talk a little bit about those parts and pieces and how it relates to using dRofus. In general, our typical BIM workflow is to start generically and then to start building the system throughout the course of the project. But we all know we never usually get to the point where we're managing all this information until the very last minute. In the dRofus workflow, we've integrated the ability to use room templates as well as items and using sub-items as parameters to build a full door schedule. There are many different industry standards out there related to the naming conventions of the systems to a door, related to the door panel naming, the framing, glazing, closures, exit devices, the list goes on. We're referencing the industry standards related to those conventions and some of the examples that we can show with you today. We're using the items overview in dRofus to manage our doors. You can see here that each of our door types has a specification, just like any other item within dRofus. We've also built a few different sections to organize the parts and pieces of that door system. For example, the framing, glazing, exit devices, and so forth. There's a few steps that we need to take within the administration settings to get this set up for us. The first thing is we want to set a responsibility group so that only our senior architects can actually manage this effort within dRofus. The other thing we can do is set a door list. That way we can set the responsibility of our primary architect to the door systems so that only they can manage that door list. And finally, we're going to set our sub-item categories. Here we're going to create certain categories that are going to be linked to certain sub-item sections so that as we create new parameters as sub-items within our door types, they're available to us in a drop-down menu. Let me show you how this is all integrated together within the items overview. The first thing that I'm going to do is select the main subsection related to doors. Here I can build the association of those sections that I just built within my administration settings. Now that I have all of those features turned on, I can start building the overall door types. So when I select the different door that I want to build, I now have all of those sub-items as properties. So I can select them from the overall drop-down menu. And if I ever need new options in my drop-down menu, I simply need to go to that section in the items overview and build a new option. Now we're going to go into the room itself. Just like any other item list, you right-click to create a new item in that list. What we can now see is when I have sub-items, for example this key set or my frame type, I can simply right-click to swap out the sub-items from those options. So building a type and then making it specific to that room is very easy. Now that we have the door types, we can simply go into Revit and start placing the doors. The Revit user can use the plugin to simply select the room, select the items list, and then place the door from what dRofus is informing them on what door type should be added to the room. This makes it very easy for the Revit user to simply be placing doors in the model, and the senior architect who's determining the door types can manage that effort inside of dRofus. Now there are times when you're placing a door to a room that the association might be wrong. In this case, when we look at the mechanical room, we can see that the association still says that there's no door in the model. This means there's an error in the Revit model. So the Revit user can simply go into a Revit schedule, find that door, and change the association so the door is associated to the correct room. Now they can go back into the room using the dRofus tool to check that those requirements are now correct. In this sense, dRofus is being used to tell and inform the Revit user what the requirements need to be, and they're making sure that they're meeting those requirements using the door list within the Items in Rooms tool. We can also use dRofus to manage the instance parameters. In this case, we might want to associate the fire rating or the door number inside of Revit and push that into the occurrence data fields into dRofus. So no matter if you're trying to manage the type data or the instance data, you can set those and sync them bidirectionally between Revit and dRofus. This all comes together in our new configuration for Excel exports. In a single export, you can include everything you're looking for related to that door. This could include the building, the level it's on, what room it's associated to, and then any of the type information related to that door type. And it now could include all those sub-items that we're associating as properties. So for the first time, you can now have a single Excel export of all the doors in your entire project, no matter if it's coming from multiple Revit models or different locations throughout the building. Both interior and exterior doors can now be managed in one place. Once the administrator on the project has set all these conditions related to that Excel export, the users on the project simply need to go into their reports and exports, select door schedule, and click generate. You can now have an Excel export that's been branded to your company's conditions and formatted in such a way that you're able to see all the information that you need.